Traveling Crazy Cat Lady.
Hi, I'm Traveling Crazy Cat Lady Harriet. Welcome to my channel. I'm feral but fully socialized. And this channel is going to be about my adventures of traveling around, taking care of other people's pets when they travel. I am a professional pet sitter. And I am a professional artist, and I carry my pens, pencils, paints, at least one sketchbook, and sometimes a canvas or two around with me. And one more little fact that I want you to know is that I've been traveling since late 2018. Okay, so my hair has joined us, and let's continue the story. So what I have with me is my sketchbook. Oh, there's a little kitty cat in the background. I'll explain where I am in a minute. So here's my sketchbook. We're gonna go back where the story begins. So this is my sketchbook, and what you can see is two maps. The bottom one, oh, there's the bottom map is of the United States. Now you have to understand, these are maps I drew from my memory. They are absolutely not accurate, and so don't come after me, please. But they serve our purpose. Okay, let's put it that way. Okay, so on the bottom you see the United States, and we have New York State highlighted, and then above that is an exploded version of New York State, and in this we have, of course, we have Canada here, and if you look at the United States, we can see that Mexico is to the south. The explosion of New York State shows Albany, which is the capital of New York State. And then this arrow points to Kingston, which is approximately 2 hours north of New York City. And as you can see, as I've written on the map, where our story begins. And down here, again, very, very inaccurate. So we have some islands down here. There's Manhattan Island, Long Island, Staten Island, or could be Governor's Island. A bunch of islands down here in the corner. And Kingston, there, right there, was the first capital of New York State. Albany is now the capital of New York State. Kingston was the capital from 1779 to 1799. So you're getting a geography lesson and a history lesson thrown in, no extra charge. And as you can see, very inaccurate. That's supposed to be the Great Lakes, those two little bay shapes, but the Great Lakes actually go up here because that's Niagara Falls. And Niagara Falls comes from Lake Erie, which is a Great Lake. So those Great Lakes need to be over here. But that's okay. Like I said, serves our purpose. So I was living in Kingston, New York, from about 2016 to 2018. That sounds like 2 years, but it was actually more like 3 years because it was January 2016 to October of 2018. Now, very briefly, while I was in Kingston, I was working at a job that I actually didn't think I would like, but I did end up liking. It was working with developmentally challenged adults, and I needed a job, and I took this job, and I ended up loving it. The problem was that my co-workers, they really made my life difficult, and I chalk it up, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it,
I chalk it up to them being kind of bitter and jaded, and I was very excited and happy, and it was all new to me. Anyway, they really gave me kind of a hard time, and I was unhappy. And in 2017, I started to get videos through my YouTube feed of people that were traveling. And I mean like traveling, like very long term, you know? And sometimes people traveling with their animals or with their children or babies and I started watching all these things. It was very interesting to me. People that were traveling in vans, of course, or by motorcycle or by bicycle or by car or by none of the above, just public transportation, trains and planes. And it started getting deeper and deeper. People made videos, and I'm sure, and they still do, but I haven't watched it in a while. They made videos about how to buy plane tickets, how to save money doing this thing or that thing, or how to research local regional train systems or bus systems in a country that you were not in yet. There were lots of videos on the subject of packing, which I found really fascinating. And so I had the idea, I'm watching a cat down there on the floor. She's very cute. I can't show you her right now, but she's adorable. And yeah. So I decided that, or let's put it this way, I started to feel what they call itchy feet, which is this desire to travel. I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase. I had never heard it, but I met somebody who used it and I really like it. So in 2017, I decided to start traveling, and I gave myself a year. And I bought a plane ticket a year in advance. It gave me a chance to save some money, to plan my trip and how I wanted to travel. And it made me also want to live. It gave me a reason to get up in the morning and go to work. Now, where did I go? Let me take you to another page in my sketchbook. I'm skipping over lots of things in here. There it is. Okay. It's another map. Again, ridiculously inaccurate, okay? But just to sort of show you what I did, very, very inaccurate. So I'm going to move it a little bit off camera to show you that I was thinking of going to Thailand. And when I started to research flights, I saw that some of the flights stopped in Oslo, Norway. And I had the idea of, wow, why don't I go to Oslo, spend some time in Norway, because I was interested, and then I can go to Thailand from there anytime. Well, that's what I did. I didn't quite make it to Thailand. By the way, Thailand, I drew it. It's over here. Highly inaccurate. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. It's probably 3 times the distance indicated. Nothing's really in proportion here, but again, it's just to, it'll do for our purposes. So what I did was I flew to, this is Norway, let's see. Yeah, this is Norway right here. Highly inaccurate, very out of proportion to everything. But just to show you my route. So I actually bought a ticket to Oslo, and the way I picked the date was, I thought Oslo starts with an O, and so does October. So I bought a ticket on October 1st, and that's how I decided. Very scientific. So I actually ended up going to Bergen, not Oslo at first. I made my way over to Oslo. I flew into Bergen. I went up to Trondheim. I went up to Bodø, which is spelled B-O-D-O. It's pronounced Bodø. I'm just looking behind me again at the cat, just making sure she's not getting into trouble. And then what I did was I went around Norway for about 3 weeks by train. Norway is a vastly gigantic country, large distances between these cities. Bodø was fascinating. I only got to stay there one day because, you know, I did a lot of research for my trip, but there's a lot of things I didn't know and I didn't plan correctly. And I only had time for one day in Bodø. And Bodø is above the Arctic Circle, and you can see the northern lights. In the one night that I was there, it was cloudy. I couldn't see the northern lights, but I had a beautiful host. She was so nice to me. More on that in another video. Yes, so then I came back down to Oslo. I discovered that, like, in Europe, you can travel between countries for incredibly low prices. So during my research for my trip, I discovered a flight that went from Oslo to Gdansk, Poland, which is right here, right at the top of Poland, for $17. So I booked it and I went, and then I took a bus straight down to a town called Katowice. And a lot of people who know Poland asked me, why did you go to Katowice and not to Krakow, which is a bigger city? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know, because I just made decisions as I went. Okay, Katowice was okay. It was a nice city. Then I went from Katowice to, where's Prague? That's Prague. Down to, I went to Vienna. I was in Vienna for 6 hours. It was a strange trip. And then it took me 2 days to go down to Italy, to a place called Villa di Corleano, about 6 kilometers outside of Pisa. You can see Pisa and Corleano. And that's Italy, because it's shaped like a boot. Again, highly inaccurate. When I left Italy, and I want to talk a little bit more about Italy, but just so while we're looking at the map, when I left Italy, I went to London, and then I went to Dublin, which would have been over here, and then I went back to the United States and continued traveling. And let's see, yeah. Anyway, that's why London is in the picture. And so, yeah, I wanted to talk about Italy because what I did was I found a post for a caretaker position in Italy. And in the thick of this post, I wasn't really interested in being a caretaker, but in the thick of the post, like buried in the middle of it, was information about an apartment you could rent in Italy. So I actually, from New York, I rented an apartment on the 3rd floor of a 600-year-old villa at Villa di Corleano. And this place was incredible. It was beautiful. It was owned by a current member of the original family that owned it from the very beginning, starting 600 years ago. And he was a very nice guy, very nice man, just a regular guy, but he was a prince, and he lived in a palace in Pisa. He was a prince who lived in a palace in Pisa. Very nice man. And when I was there, well, it was like an Airbnb and a wedding venue, and they, the season was over. So by the 2nd or 3rd week that I was there, pretty much I was the only human being there, although it was reputed to be haunted, but the ghost mostly stayed in the ballroom. It was a massive ballroom, and the interior of the villa was all, 600-year-old fresco paintings of angels and animals and trees and stuff. And yeah, it was pretty intense. I never ran into the ghost, and I'm kind of amazed at myself that not only was it the end of the month that I had rented, but I actually extended my stay for like 2 or 3 weeks towards the end of December, and I was by myself the whole time. But there was a cat in the villa. Now, I was not there to take care of the cat. I was renting the apartment, and the cat was taken care of, I think, by the prince and his wife. They would come by every once in a while during the day. No one was there at night. And I hardly ever saw Leela, that was her name, but she was really my first international cat experience. Nothing really unusual about it, but it was the first international cat experience, and I believe set off a series of events that led to me taking care of lots of animals, cats and dogs, and other kinds of animals, a lot, and continuing to travel. As I said, I didn't go to Thailand, but I had lots of adventures that have been continuing to this day, which I'm going to get into the next video. I wanted to introduce myself and explain how this whole thing started, and I'm really hoping you'll join me and for the next video. And so please remember to show this video to your cat, and then like, comment, subscribe, share, and do come back. Thank you so much. Bye.